For the very latest on that, we're joined by our correspondent Shweta Bajaj in New Delhi. Shweta, thanks very much for speaking to us on China 24. Now, give us an update on how the meeting is going and what's topping the agenda of today's dialogue.
Well, top on the agenda are two issues. The boundary issue between India and China, as far as the talks between India and China particularly are concerned. Also, for India and China, the other issue would be trade. On a larger issue of the BRICS security summit that we are looking at, the other issues that they are looking at very carefully include the fact on regional security, the relationship with the United States of these nations. Also, how will these nations react as United States start pulling its troops out of there in 2014. And of course, maritime security has become increasingly important, especially between neighboring nations. And in this regard, it becomes India and China. So that's also top on the agenda. Coming to the top two ones, the boundary issue, both of them, Shiv Shankar Menon and Bai, had this meeting last month in Beijing, which was an informal boundary meeting in which both of them said that they have been able to reach a consensus and there is an understanding. So that is expected to take forward in today's talks, which will continue tomorrow as well. After that, we are looking at another meeting that will take place between India and China's defense secretaries. This will happen only the coming week, 14th and 15th of Jan. So we are looking at other defense tie-ups between both the nations as well. So this is what will top the agenda for the boundary issue. On the trade front, India has its own concerns. It has a huge trade imbalance with China, and especially in the last 1 year, the imports have not gone up as quickly as exports have gone down. So that's the problem that India is facing. And it was in November this year that India's trade deficit with China had gone up to a massive $26 billion, and in December it's gone up to a $23 billion. So India is staring at a massive trade imbalance with China. This has been discussed on other occasions as well, and also China has given some sort of help with some banks in China. So that's still going on. But trade and boundary issues, this is what we are looking at as far as bilaterally China and India are concerned. And on a larger platform, security issue, of course, are of paramount importance.
Shweta, let's spend some more time talking about maritime security and shipping cooperation. What do these mean for China-India ties strategically?
Okay, the meeting that is expected to happen the coming week, actually 14th and 15th of Jan, which is between the defense secretaries of India and China in Beijing. It's expected that meeting could lead to a joint exercise towards the end of the year. So of course, this will be the second joint exercise coming in as short as 2 years, and it's not very common that India and China decide to do something like that. So as far as both India and China are concerned, and having maritime security only makes sense because India's own port connections with various nations are not on a high. This particular India-ASEAN summit that we saw only in December 2012 saw India talking about many new projects as far as its highways connectivity is concerned and its port connectivity is concerned with various nations around it. Maritime security with China also regionally makes a lot of sense because India has very porous borders and has been facing its own share of issues. So that's what maritime security would mean for it. The exercise that's expected to take place at the end of the year, it's not clear what exercise it would be, whether it would be a naval exercise, whether it would be a defense exercise, but it's expected to be a naval one, and we saw one happening last year as well. It's a continuation of an effort by both the nations to take their maritime security ties to the next level as sea becomes increasingly important for security of nations. And of course, let me also mention that there could be a mention of Pakistan also in these talks because of the issues that India has been facing recently. And of course, any country that has a relationship with India is bothered about what could happen there.
Well, thanks very much, Shweta, for your reporting from New Delhi. And of course, we're going to check with you again in the coming days. That's our correspondent, Shweta Bajaj.